I did want to
Absolutely.
address something Ron said about the hostile takeover part, because as they're the weaker they are, they open themselves up for that to
If
happen.
if they can have a if they can
Especially
find a
if you get
company that's
bigger
capable.
players coming in. I mean, let's just say, sake of argument, Elon Musk decides to throw his hat in the ring, and you get another few bigger people that have some shares. Like we've even mentioned George Lucas or somebody like that, who's turn around and say, give Peltz his power of vote over his shares. That is something that could really swing things around. Because we already know they're not going to give Peltz
See,
the boards he
here's the
wants,
weird
the
thing.
seats on the board he wants. That's what I was going
No.
to say. Yeah.
I think that a company with this kind of chart, if it weren't for the political baggage, which in this case is not baggage, it's more like angel's wings, right? Your vulture, investors would be looking at this as a takeover opportunity in the foreseeable future. This is a seriously underperforming stock, and there are real opportunities here for someone not tied to the existing management to do things, to make changes, to move parts around. But I think, in other words, BlackRock's not going to help that happen.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And so on down the road.
You
Soros
mentioned
isn't going to make that happen.
No, and you're right. But it's interesting because we talked about this some months ago, I think, when we saw the changes happen. But I mean, BlackRock used to be number one on the chart when it came to the amount of ownership. I think they had about 8% or a little over 8% of all outstanding Disney shares. Now, at last glance, they're down around 6. So they have dumped some of their position, and I think they're number 2 now behind if it was Vanguard or State Street. I'll have to pull up Morningstar and check that again. But yeah, I mean, you see some changes, but I mean, generally speaking, those larger mutual fund companies, they're always going to be at the top echelon of a company like Disney in terms of ownership. And again, for no other reason but for the fact of their pure size. They're managing large cap mutual funds that have, hundreds of billions of assets in them. Some cases, $1 trillion of assets in a fund. So by default, they're going to own a lot of Disney. I mean, they have to, because if somebody's going to buy, for example, a BlackRock S&P 500 index fund, and let's say that fund has $500 billion of assets in it, there's going to be a significant chunk in there of Disney. I mean, not hundreds of billions worth, but I mean, you might have 5 billion worth of Disney in there, 10 billion worth of Disney in there. That's what happens. That's how these big institutional funds. That's why Vanguard is usually, when it comes to like large cap stocks, things like Apple and Google, the things that everybody generally owns if they have a 401k and they've got a large cap fund in there, or an S&P index fund or a NASDAQ index fund. Everybody's going to own Google and Apple and stuff like that. Disney being a Dow Jones component, you're going to have something similar. So you'd probably also find, most likely, that if you look at a lot of the other Dow components, Walmart, Dow Chemical, United Health, something like, I mean, the biggest players in each of their industries, basically. You're going to find that a lot of those institutions are going to wind up owning a similar 5-6% of outstanding shares of those companies too.
So here's my prediction. Disney right now is at the perfect spot for a Bain Capital to come in, buy it, and divest itself immediately.
Yeah. Paul, that's just what I was saying right
That's
before.
That's kind of what I was thinking too.
Break it up without prejudice, like without emotion.
Mm-hmm.
Just
like what happened to. Yeah, go ahead.
This, like I said, this is a Bain Capital moment.
It could be. The only thing about that, though, is that we're still talking about a company that's got a market cap of $170 billion. That's a big purchase for a private equity firm. It's not totally undoable, but that's a big ladder to climb. I think it'd be a conglomerate of people if that were to go down that road. I don't know how much Bain Capital.
I don't think it would be Bain on their own.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be an assorted group of people.
Anything's possible.
Anyway.
But I don't know what the likelihood of that is. But if they keep stagnating like they are, it may become more and more attractive. Mike is here.
The problem is that their
Oh
properties
my
are
God.
their properties are like not worth anything anymore. That's the problem, is that get some money for Marvel, get some money for
Yeah, the
Lucas,
IPs.
get some money for Pixar, whatever it happens to be. That's really their only position. I don't see them digging, making any of those properties work. In fact, I mean, over the holidays, you watch movies, right? That you enjoy, as opposed to during the year where movies you don't enjoy, just so you can talk about them. You don't talk about movies just so you don't enjoy them. Anyway, you know what I mean. And I watched The Last Crusade, Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
And I just was shocked at how good I have good memories of it, but I was shocked at how good it was.
Yeah.
Like,
and not just comparing it to today's dumpster fire.
No.
It was purely good on its own.
Yeah.
Back when people still cared about the movies that they made.
I did complain that the Nazi rally that included Hitler was not very diverse. I have issues with that. I just wanted to put that out. They
didn't have enough Hispanic women in that scene. I was very disappointed. I
was a South Asian Hitler probably would have worked much better. I'm just saying. Anyway. So no one is making movies out of Disney or at Lucasfilm there of that quality and that joy and that technique. Anyway, so that's my prediction. I would like a big divestment firm to come in and chop it up and then have done with it. So we're not talking about it anymore.
I'll give you a couple of thoughts on that, but Mike is here, and Mike is decked out and all festive here.
I thought this was a freaking New Year's party. Where's the DJ? And how come you guys are talking about stock prices?
DJ's right here.
I thought you were the DJ.
Yeah.
Now you are.
I even put on a costume for the New Year's party.
He's got the record attached to the top of his sombrero, so he can go zip 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 just on the head.
Olaf Van Ness for €2. I expect investors will drop Disney in 2024. I think it's possible. I think if we don't get something concrete in that February earnings call, and when I say concrete, I mean they're really showing massive strides towards the biggest thing is hitting profitability on Disney Plus, even if it's just $1. That's all they have to do. Their goal is to make it happen by September 30th.
Well, they're trying to do it with Hulu, right on the back of Hulu.
Sort of. Right now, so what they did in the recasting was they basically broke ESPN Plus off onto its own, and now you have Hulu and Disney Plus on one side, and they have segregated Disney Plus and Hulu.
Oh yeah, I know. They're still charging you for both.
Yeah, and they're trying to get. And I think that's part of what they're hoping is massive cuts will get them to profitability. They're going to cut their way to a profit, and then if they can get this Hulu deal completed in time, that's another big if. How much more that's going to cost them, because Disney would really like to get Hulu ramped up, merge these two systems, and then be done with it. And then they can it'll be a lot easier to bury the losses of Disney Plus, because Hulu is actually a cash machine.
It also has a ad-supported tier.
It's the most robust ad tier that there is. And it was funny. There was
first.
Yeah. There was an article in the last week that between Disney Plus and Netflix, and this was a bit unexpected, Netflix actually won the advertising sales war over Disney Plus. That was not really expected, because again, Netflix had never, ever, ever been anywhere near the ad business. They had no idea what the hell they were doing selling ads.
But they started it last year.
Yeah, around the same time that Disney did, actually. Yeah. I mean, within a month
they're
of each other.
In the money. They're in the money.
I mean, Netflix is doing fine with it. And the thing is that advertisers, even though Netflix didn't know what the hell they were doing,
they're like, this cable business is kind of lucrative.
Well, even the CEOs at Netflix said, we didn't know what the hell we were doing with ads. I mean, I'm quoting them basically. but they brought people in that were good with it, and everybody said Disney Plus should have an easy time because they have the most prolific ad sales team that's in television, between ABC and ESPN and all their linear content, and Hulu was in there, right? I mean, this should be easy, but Netflix came in because I think advertisers at the end of the day were like, you know what? It doesn't matter if they have the biggest bunch of idiots running the ad team at Netflix. That's what everybody's watching.
Well,
Everybody's watching Netflix.
My experience with siloed companies, and especially ad agencies, is that the silos do not help each other. And so I would suggest to you that the people at Disney, however much Iger went in there, pounded the desk and say, you cooperate with those tech heads in Hulu and get this together. I guarantee you they fought it every step of the way.
Maybe.
I've seen it. No, they don't want to deal with other people's technology. I worked with McDonald's. We worked for the IT department. We had digital displays 10 years before McDonald's actually put them up because the signage department did not want to give the business over to IT. Like the silos are insane in corporate.
Yeah, and you're getting to the point now where a lot of these advertisers out there and a lot of the advertising purchasing systems are going automated. Like they've got huge systems out there now that you can go log into whatever service it is and say, I want to run ads for this kind of business, and I want this demographic. And an algorithm and an AI will buy the ads for you.
And this has been the challenge for YouTube, and why YouTube has been trying to tame it. Is because Paul Molliv will suddenly be on some crazy site promoting animal vivisection, and they're going, what the hell? How did I get my ad, my soap on this vivisection site? I mean. And this is something that YouTube has really, really tried to deal with. So, it's all automated.
Make sure you're subscribed to Valiant Renegade and join us every Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern for the live show.